Can Superman actually die? I mean, we all know his weaknesses, right? A green rock from his home planet, a magical lightning bolt from a Greek god, or a big gray monster with bone spurs. But what if I told you that Superman has faced something far more final than any of these? Something that no one, not even a god, is supposed to survive. I'm talking about the end of the universe itself. Let's rewind the clock to the Silver Age of comics. This was an era of pure, unfiltered imagination. The writers weren't bogged down by things like physics or realism. And who's more epic than Superman? In one of these wild tales, Superman finds himself flung into the far, far future. So far, in fact, that he witnesses the very last stars in the cosmos flicker and die. The entire universe collapses into a single point of final deafening silence. And who's floating there in the absolute void? You guessed it. The Man of Steel. He literally watched everything end and was just fine. Now, you might be thinking, that's insane. How is that even possible? And you're right. The Silver Age was famous for its because he's Superman logic. His power levels were basically infinite. He could tow a dozen planets on a chain, sneeze away a solar system, and apparently tank the complete annihilation of all reality. These stories weren't about creating a relatable hero. They were about creating a modern myth, a figure of absolute power and unshakable hope. So, when faced with the ultimate ending, the writers simply said, Superman survives. It was a statement. It meant that even when everything else is gone, hope, embodied by Superman, endures. Of course, as comics grew up, writers tried to make sense of these absurd feats. A retcon, or retroactive continuity, is when new stories add details to or change past events. For Silver Age Superman, later writers proposed all sorts of explanations. One popular idea was that the Superman from that era was a unique version, a being so hypercharged by Earth's yellow sun over decades that he had evolved beyond a physical body into a being of pure energy. In this state, the collapse of physical reality wouldn't necessarily affect him. He had transcended the very laws of the universe he was born into. It's a neat way to keep the epic feat in his history while trying to ground it, just a little bit, in some kind of comic book science. But this isn't just some forgotten relic of the past. The idea of Superman at the end of time keeps coming back, even in modern comics. Take the DC 1 Million storyline from the late 90s. This story jumps to the 853rd century, where a descendant of Superman, known as Superman Prime, resides in the heart of the sun. After outliving all his friends and family, including Lois Lane, he left Earth and traveled the cosmos. He eventually created a new universe from the DNA of Lois Lane he carried within his fortress of solitude. So, not only did he survive until the sun became his home, this raises a fascinating question. Does surviving the end of everything make Superman functionally immortal? The answer seems to be yes, at least for certain versions of him. Immortality isn't just about not aging or being hard to kill. True immortality is about enduring beyond all possible ends. For these specific versions of Superman, death isn't a threat. It's more like a temporary inconvenience he just doesn't have time for. He's not just a man who can't die. Yes, a being who will exist even after the concept of existence has packed its bags and left. So how do we square this with the fact that we've seen him die? Doomsday, a creature engineered for the sole purpose of destruction, beat Superman to a pulp in the streets of Metropolis. The world watched in horror as their greatest hero fell. He was buried, mourned, and it felt incredibly real and permanent. And then there's Kryptonite. That glowing green rock has been a staple of his story since the beginning. It weakens him, sickens him, and with enough exposure, it can kill him. How can a being who can watch the universe die be vulnerable to a pointy rock monster and a radioactive fragment of his old planet? This is the beautiful contradiction at the heart of Superman. He exists on a spectrum. On one end, you have the godlike being, the myth, the symbol of ultimate hope who can survive anything. On the other end, you have the man, the Clark Kent who was raised in Smallville, who loves his parents, who feels pain and who can be hurt. This is the Superman who makes us care. This is the version that bleeds, that struggles, and that makes the ultimate sacrifice. Modern writers play with this duality all the time. They understand that Superman needs to be both. We need the stories where he is punching through reality to save the day, because it gives us a sense of awe and wonder. But we also need the stories where a piece of kryptonite makes him sweat, because it reminds us that he has a heart. His greatest strength isn't that he can survive the end of the universe. The answer is both yes and no. It depends on which Superman you're talking about and what kind of story is being told. The man can die, and his death serves as a powerful reminder of the cost of heroism. But the idea of Superman, the symbol he represents, that's what survives the end of the universe. It's the enduring belief that no matter how dark things get, there is always hope. And that idea is truly immortal. Thanks so much for watching. What do you think is Superman's most insane power feat? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the Man of Steel, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.